Hey guys, how's it going? It's your boy MKS here, back here with another video, and welcome to part 3 of Happy Republic Day for India. And in this video, I hope to talk about. I hope you can hear me because they're watching a film next door quite loudly. So I hope you can hear me. I know my voice isn't the loudest, but anyway, through this video, I hope to talk about why I wish to support India and how I wish to do so, and that kind of thing. So yeah, I can't think of much to say for the intro, but I hope people out there enjoy it and share this video with all possible people who love India all around the world or have a connection to India or whatnot, especially those who love India. And here goes. These are points number 21 to 30, so I hope you enjoy them, as I say. So number 21, I hope for people to find out about the history of India and how its constitution was formed, or any facts, stats and general figures and whatnot about India, and hopefully people will share them in the comments. So if you find any information about India that you think not everyone knows or might be interesting or whatnot, such as, say, for instance, inventions that were found from India, how they got their independence, or any other stories or any other information about India, please post them in the comment section. Also, to recap some of the ideas I talked about before, I would love for India as a nation and Indian businesses to invest in Italian football and also Celtic, as well as their own sports teams, obviously, as well, and like cricket and things like that, and that kind of thing. Anyway, moving on, number 22, I would love to support, in the present and the future, Indian industries such as India's film industry, Indian comedians, and even though I'm not a fan of cricket, I don't really like cricket, but I'd love to support sports like cricket or hockey just for India, like Indian cricket, the Indian cricket and hockey teams and things like that have done well. And I'd love to also to find out the contributions of Anglo-Indians and other minority groups towards such things, and Anglo-Indian contributions to India generally as well. I think that'll be interesting, but I hope to come to that point. And again, just supporting Indian industries and helping them sell their items around the world, and people to try, again, going back to some of the points I covered before, people to try things like Indian tea, Indian food and all that. Some people might try it for the first time and record it onto YouTube and things like that. So there's some sort of things where I've seen, like, where people have tried food from or drinks from a certain country for the first time, things like that. So I hope they'll do that kind of thing for India. So maybe by next year, next Republic Day in 2025, and hopefully from then each year, people will try different Indian foods and snacks and drinks and things like that to celebrate Republic Day and similar things for India's Independence Day. And yeah, helping India's economy to grow as much as possible, and trying to find all possible ways to help India's economy to grow and benefit India just generally, whether that's in sports or industries or in different industries and whatnot, supporting businesses like Tata, Reliance Industries and other industries across India, or businesses and companies and that kind of thing. And again, talking about finding out information and facts and figures and stats and things like that about India. I think it'd be interesting if people found out, like, what are the top industries, what are India's top imports and exports and things like that. So again, if you have any information on that, and it's very cool if you can find it out, please post it in the comment section. Moving on, number 23, I'd love to find all possible ways to fundraise for India, especially for its most poor people and most disadvantaged people, empowering women and girls, for instance, especially in education and training. I was thinking that I talked about, like, some of the more negative sides and dark sides of India, and I think one of the things people talk about a lot is that it can be quite a patriarchal society, and basically there can be a lot of sexism and gender violence and misogyny and things like that. So one of the things I was wondering is if there were more, I'd love to put this question out there, if there were more female politicians and business people and leaders and whatnot, would that be able to tackle some of the gender violence? And I'd love to know what people think, or am I being naive? Would it take more than that? I think I was discussing with one of my sisters, like, if that would make a change, and she was saying it wouldn't necessarily make a change. But maybe if young people, like young boys, were taught in school to give girls more choices, girls and women more choices, and things like that, empower them more generally. Maybe that could tackle some of the gender violence and discrimination generally. But I'd love to know your thoughts on all of these points as well. And as I said, what are the best ways to fundraise for India? What are the best ways to empower women and girls, disabled people, Dalits, poor generally, and any disadvantaged communities especially. But me personally, I would love to support people from the poorest all the way up to the richest backgrounds. And again, through this video, I hope to talk about why I would support India, which is a point which I'm going to cover soon. And that covers everything for point number 23. But again, I'd love to know all possible ways to fundraise and things like that. So if you can share any suggestions. I know I make these videos and like people might say you're just talking about your ideas, but I hope it can promote those ideas and be a platform for people to share and discuss and think through ideas and things like that. 24, I once again hope for India to unite together as much as possible, and I'd love for people to find out any and all key and core dates for India and its history. Like Republic Day is obviously one of them, which is today, the 26th of January. Obviously, it happens annually, and Independence Day, which is the 15th of August. But I'd love to know any other key and core dates in India's history and like important times of India. Each year, some of them might be negative, some of them might be positive, or positive memories and negative memories and that kind of thing. But again, hopefully for these videos after mentioned, I hope they'll be mainly positive. But yeah, I'd love to see India uniting and also having days where they can invite people from around the world to India and like trying to increase their tourism and things like that. Number 25. Also, I'd love for them to network with other republics around the world. So looking at how republics can network together, what they can learn from each other, what they can learn about each other, how they can trade together, and what they can teach and learn from each other and about each other. So for instance, what one republic does well, they can pass on that information and say this worked well for us, you might want to try this and see if it works for you, and that kind of thing. So basically just networking together in all possible ways to see what they can achieve. And in the future, I'd love for them to invite as many politicians, dignitaries, and whatnot from all possible republics all around the world, even people from republics generally to go, and even those who support republics like myself to go to India, especially on Republic Day, if and when possible, and like share our ideas for how to benefit the nation and things like that. Number 26, I did mention, I would say why I wish to support India. And as an anti-imperialist, I read and heard that India had some estimate as high as 43 or even 45 trillion dollars, believe it or not, looted or stolen from their nation by Britain, and possibly some other nations looted or stole from them. And they went through a lot of bad things, torture, for instance, and so many terrible things. And their economy was destroyed, or well, not necessarily destroyed, but it was certainly very highly depleted. I think their economy went arguably from supposedly 26% of the world's GDP to about 4 or 5% or something like that, maybe even less, to maybe 2 or 3% even. So, and that's why I wish to support India as a sense of justice. I think even conservative estimates, which might dispute those figures, like some say GDP didn't exist back then, so it's hard to work out if that's accurate. And I'm not sure, again, to be honest, how accurate those statistics are generally anyway. But yeah, that's why I still think they had a lot of things looted from them and stolen from, whichever word you want to use, robbed or whatever. And they had a lot of rights taken away from them. There's a lot of killing and torture and all sorts of terrible things. So that's why I wish to sort of reparate them by supporting their industries, the film industry, comedy, music, and all sorts of different things. I'm thinking of film industry and things that are funny because it's Friday. So I'm going on my alliterations again. But I hope that they can, that's why I wish to born. Number 27, also as a form of reward for looking after, so I wish to reparate them, but also reward them for looking after my fellow Anglo-Indians, if I can pronounce it properly. And there's a book by a guy called Frank Anthony, which claimed, I think it was called A Tale of British Betrayal in India, and it claimed that I think because Anglo-Indians, the first Anglo-Indians or early Anglo-Indians were, again, whichever term you prefer to use, were mainly Christian or some branch of Christianity or whatever, and also spoke English and were more in line with English traditions or British traditions or whatever. They wanted to come to the UK, but apparently Britain didn't allow them to come. And there's one theory as well about how Anglo-Indians were sort of made, if you like, or created, which is to sort of divide India up, supposedly, although I have a friend who has a different theory, which is that soldiers were overseas and they didn't have any other women, like British women or local women, British or European women, so that's why they procreated with Anglo-Indians. So there's different views, but I think some even say that British generals were actually paid to create Anglo-Indians, but that was like to divide the country through religion, colorism, class, and whatever other sort of divisions they could make to divide the nation. But I'd love to know what you think about those sorts of things. Are those sorts of things factual? Would you dispute them? Would you know different or contrarian facts or whatever, or contrarian viewpoints? As ever, I welcome those. But those are the facts, or certainly some of the theories that I've heard of, as far as I know them. Talking about reward, though, I said about rewarding India, I hope that India will reward me for supporting them by, especially if my ideas work, by, again, investing in Italian football. Like the India itself to have its own sovereign wealth fund, investing in Inter, Tata to invest in Torino, Reliance Industries to invest in Roma, and so on and so forth. And also Celtic. Number 28, again, I hope, what did I say again? Turning negatives into positives. I was thinking, if it is true what I heard, that Anglo-Indians were sort of made or created in a special way to sort of divide India, I think it would be quite a great irony if we were the ones who helped, or we were part of the group that helped to unite the nation. I'd love the irony of that, actually, that we were there to apparently divide the nation and we were actually instead unite the nation. Again, I'd love to know what people think about those points, because I know I think differently and rather quirkily. Number 29, I would love to see, on that note, I would say what my fellow Anglo-Indians or Eurasians generally can do to benefit India, like to help its economy, finances, security, and that sort of thing, and just generally benefit India, whether that's in sports or things like that. Apparently, historically, Anglo-Indians helped to build the railways and things like that. And also, I hope to see what my fellow neurodivergent people can do. And in the future, again, I hope that India can host republics, people who support republics, even maybe from 2025, like on Republic Day, it can invite all possible, again, politicians and leaders and even businesses and members of the wider society, citizens generally, basically, because apparently in a republic, the people are called citizens, but in a monarchy, people are called, like here in the UK, people are called subjects. So hopefully they can invite as many citizens as possible, especially, and maybe in some subjects, but also those who support republics and people from republics around the world. But I hope that India will still get investment from all around the world, like the PIF for India, and Arabians, Africans, and others investing, other Asians obviously investing in India, and even people from Latin America and all around the world. I hope they can attract investment. And I hope that India will learn about neurodiversity, like dyslexia, ADHD, neurodiversity, for some reason I was putting speech marks. But I hope they'll see that even though we can be called special needs and be seen as slow or backwards, that we have our own unique strengths. When I was younger, I didn't actually know that there are specific strengths that dyslexic people have. Being dyslexic, almost like compensatory strengths, I believe that we have, from what I've seen and heard, and also people with ADHD related conditions. So I hope we'll see what we can contribute. Like people with dyspraxia can contribute sort of sympathy, empathy, thinking outside the box, bringing people together and that kind of thing. compassion for animals. I think India is about half the country is vegetarian, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, and they have many vegans as well, and that kind of thing. And moving on, number 30, again, I hope that India can host as many events as possible to invite investors into the nation, things like, especially on special occasions or whenever they get the opportunity to host events. Like, as I say, from next year, I hope they'll invite all the world's republics, as many of them as possible, politicians, business people and whatnot from those nations, and bring investment, especially on independence day as well. Sorry. And anyway, I am out.